The notification appeared on my phone at exactly 3:17 a.m. I shouldn't have been awake, but insomnia had become my constant companion since moving into my new flat. The message simply read, "Your free trial of Watchlist TV has been activated. Enjoy unlimited access for the next 24 hours." There was no app icon, no company logo, just plain text and a link. I had never signed up for any streaming service called Watchlist TV. Perhaps it was just another phishing attempt, another data harvester masquerading as entertainment. But at 3:17 a.m., with nothing but the hollow silence of my empty flat and the soft glow of streetlights filtering through thin curtains, I tapped the link. The interface was minimalist, almost crude. A black background with a simple menu, live feeds, upcoming, your history, and settings. No account details, no subscription information, no help section. I tapped on live feeds and was presented with a grid of 9 video thumbnails, each showing a different interior space. Bedrooms, living rooms, kitchens. All were dark, illuminated only by the ambient light of electronics or street lamps filtering through windows. All were occupied by sleeping figures or empty, waiting spaces. I felt a wave of revulsion. This had to be some kind of illegal surveillance site that had somehow bypassed normal App Store restrictions. I was about to close it when I noticed the location tags beneath each thumbnail. London, Manchester, Edinburgh, and so on. All British locations. The timestamp in the corner of each feed read 3:19 a.m. current time. The third feed on the second row made my heart stop. The thumbnail showed a living room I recognized immediately, my living room. My sofa with that distinctive coffee stain on the arm. My collection of vinyl records stacked haphazardly by the television. My half-empty mug on the coffee table, exactly where I'd left it hours earlier. But I wasn't in the living room. I was sitting on my bed, phone in hand, looking at a live feed of an empty room in my own flat. My first instinct was to check for hidden cameras. I threw on the lights and searched every corner, every shelf, every potential hiding spot. Nothing. I checked my smoke detector, my air vents, my light fixtures. Nothing. Either the camera was impossibly well concealed, or the feed was coming from somewhere else entirely. When I returned to my bed, the app had changed. Now it showed a single feed, my living room, but the timestamp read 7:42 a.m. Below it, text appeared. Upcoming, 4 hours from now. This had to be some kind of elaborate prank. Perhaps the previous tenant had installed cameras before leaving. Maybe a tech-savvy friend was having a laugh. But as I watched the upcoming feed, a cold feeling settled in my stomach. The lighting had changed to morning light. And there, moving across my living room, was me, still in my nightclothes, carrying a mug of tea, looking exhausted. I hadn't made that cup of tea yet. This supposedly hadn't happened yet. Sleep was impossible after that. I sat in the darkness of my bedroom, occasionally checking the app to see if anything had changed. The upcoming feed remained the same. Me, at 7:42 a.m., crossing my living room with a mug of tea. At around 6:30 a.m., I finally dozed off from sheer exhaustion. When I woke, it was 7:39 a.m. Without thinking, I went to the kitchen, made a cup of tea, and started walking back to my bedroom. Halfway across the living room, I froze. I was recreating exactly what I'd seen in the upcoming feed. I checked my phone, 7:42 a.m. I dropped the mug. Tea splashed across the floor as ceramic shattered. This wasn't happening in the feed I'd seen. As I knelt to clean up the mess, my phone pinged. A new notification from Watchlist TV. Feed updated based on current choices. When I opened the app, the upcoming feed now showed me kneeling on the floor, cleaning up broken ceramic and spilled tea. The timestamp read, now. As I watched, I could see myself from an impossible angle, as if a camera were mounted in the corner of the ceiling, doing exactly what I was currently doing. I looked up at the empty corner where the camera angle suggested a device should be. Nothing. I waved. On the screen, my figure waved. I made an obscene gesture. My figure on screen did the same. This couldn't be real. And yet, there I was, watching myself in real time from an impossible perspective. Throughout the day, I tried to distract myself with work, but I kept checking the app. The upcoming feed now showed me at my desk at 2:15 p.m. answering emails. When 2:15 p.m. arrived, that's exactly what I was doing. The next feed showed me making dinner at 6:30 p.m. At 6:30 p.m., I found myself chopping vegetables for a stir-fry, just as shown. Each prediction came true, no matter how mundane. The precision was unnerving. It wasn't just that the app knew where I would be, but exactly how I would be positioned, what expression would be on my face, what clothes I would be wearing. It was as if my entire day had been scripted in advance. By evening, I'd convinced myself there had to be a rational explanation. Perhaps the app was using my phone's own camera and some kind of AR technology to create the illusion of surveillance footage. Perhaps it was accessing my calendar, my email, my messaging apps to predict my routine. Or perhaps this was all an elaborate hoax designed by someone who knew me well. But then I discovered something that sent a chill down my spine. When browsing the live feeds section again, I noticed I could select other people's feeds. I clicked on one labelled Bristol, UK, and found myself watching a young woman painting at an easel in what appeared to be a small studio flat. The timestamp read now. I felt immediately guilty, like a peeping Tom, and was about to close the feed when she suddenly stopped painting, set down her brush, and stared directly at the invisible camera angle. Her expression changed from concentration to confusion, as if she sensed she was being watched. I closed the app immediately, feeling sick. Was she another user like me? Had she also received a mysterious notification about a free trial? When I reopened the app hours later, there was a new section. Messages. Inside was a single thread with a blank username. The message read, "I can see you watching me. Who are you?" I stared at the message for a long time. This had to be from the painter in Bristol, but how could she know I had watched her specifically? I typed a response. "I don't understand what this app is. Did you also get a free trial notification?" Minutes later, a reply, "Yes, 3:17 a.m. 3 nights ago." My blood ran cold. She'd had the app for 3 days already. I asked her what she'd seen. "The predictions get worse," she wrote. "Don't watch tomorrow's feed. Whatever you do, don't look at tomorrow's feed." Of course, that was exactly what I did next. I navigated to the upcoming section and found I could now scroll forward through predictions. There I was at breakfast the next morning. There I was at lunch. There I was working at my computer. Everything seemed normal until I reached 10:47 p.m. The feed showed my living room, lights on, with 2 people inside. One was me, backed against the wall, face contorted in terror. The other was a figure I didn't recognize, dressed in dark clothing, holding something that glinted in the light. I closed the app, heart pounding. This couldn't be real. Predictions couldn't actually show the future. This had to be some kind of sick game, designed to frighten users for some unfathomable reason. But what if it was real? What if the app somehow knew something terrible was going to happen? I couldn't take that chance. I messaged the woman in Bristol again. "I saw tomorrow night. Someone breaks into my flat." Her response came quickly. "Change it. Do something different. Stay somewhere else tomorrow night." That made sense. If these were indeed predictions of the future, then surely changing my plans would change the outcome. I immediately called a friend and asked if I could stay over the following night. I made up a story about maintenance work in my building. He agreed without question. The next morning, I packed an overnight bag, feeling ridiculous but also relieved. I had outsmarted whatever algorithm was generating these predictions. I checked the app again, curious if the prediction for 10:47 p.m. had changed. It hadn't. Still my living room, still me against the wall, still the unknown figure looming over me. This was impossible. I wouldn't even be in my flat at that time. I messaged the Bristol woman again. "The prediction hasn't changed even though I'm staying elsewhere tonight." Her reply chilled me to the bone. "Mine didn't change either. I tried everything." "What happened?" I asked. "I'm messaging you from a hospital bed. The prediction came true, just not where I expected. Throughout the day, a sense of dread built inside me. If what the Bristol woman said was true, then simply changing locations wouldn't save me from whatever was predicted to happen at 10:47 p.m. Still, I went to my friend's place as planned. Arriving around 6 p.m. with my overnight bag, we ordered takeaway, watched a film, had a few drinks. Normal evening activities that should have felt relaxing, but were undermined by my constant checking of the time. At 10:20 p.m., my friend received a phone call. His sister had been in a minor car accident and needed someone to pick her up from the A&E. He apologized profusely, asking if I'd be okay on my own for about an hour. I nearly begged him to stay, but how could I explain my irrational fear without sounding completely unhinged? After he left, the flat felt cavernous and strange. I checked the app again, heart racing. The prediction remained unchanged. My living room, me against the wall, the ominous figure, 10:47 p.m. At 10:30 p.m., my phone rang. It was my neighbor from across the hall. "Hey, I know this is weird, but I think someone's tried to break into your flat," she said. "I heard noises, and your door looks like it's been tampered with." I paused. If the prediction showed me in my living room at 10:47 p.m. and it was now 10:30 p.m., then whatever was going to happen couldn't happen unless I went back to my flat. "I'm not home," I told her. "I'm staying at a friend's place. Definitely call the police." "I already did," she said, "but they said it would be at least 30 minutes. The thing is, I think someone might have actually gotten in. I can hear movement." A horrible thought struck me. What if the prediction wasn't showing someone attacking me? What if it was showing an intruder attacking my neighbor? What if, by trying to avoid the prediction, I was actually fulfilling it? "Don't go near my flat," I said firmly. "Just wait for the police." "Too late," she said, her voice suddenly different, lower. "I'm already inside. It's quite cozy, although you really should come home soon." The line went dead. I stared at my phone in horror. That wasn't my neighbor's voice at the end. I'd heard her speak enough times to know her voice. Someone else had taken the phone. Someone was in my flat, pretending to be my neighbor. I checked the time. 10:33 p.m. I called the police immediately, explaining that someone had broken into my flat and was impersonating my neighbor. They took my details, but said all available units were responding to a major incident on the other side of town. It would be at least 20 minutes before someone could arrive. 10:36 p.m. I had a choice to make. I could stay where I was, safe in my friend's flat, and wait for the police to eventually check my place. Or I could go back, confront whatever was happening, potentially walking straight into the scenario I had seen on the app. Logic told me to stay put. But something else was gnawing at me. What about my actual neighbor? If someone had used her phone to call me, was she safe? She lived alone, a woman in her 60s. What if someone had hurt her to get to me? Without fully processing the decision, I found myself running out of my friend's building, hailing a passing taxi, directing it to my address. The driver must have sensed my panic because he drove faster than usual, weaving through late-night traffic. I arrived at my building at precisely 10:42 p.m. I checked the app one last time before entering. The prediction hadn't changed. The building was quiet as I took the stairs to my floor, trying to move silently. When I reached my neighbor's door, I knocked softly. No response. I tried the handle. It was unlocked. My heart pounded as I pushed the door open. The flat was dark and empty. No signs of struggle, but no sign of my neighbor either. Her phone lay on the small table by the door. I crept back out and approached my own flat. The door was indeed damaged around the lock, as if someone had tried to force it, but it was closed. I took a deep breath and used my key. The door swung open to reveal my living room, exactly as it appeared in the prediction. The lights were on, though I definitely hadn't left them that way. I stepped inside, pulse racing. "Hello!" I called out, immediately regretting making my presence known. A figure stepped out from the kitchen, not dressed in dark clothes as the prediction had shown, but in a police uniform. "Sir, we received a call about a break-in at this address," the officer said. Relief flooded through me. The police had arrived sooner than expected. The prediction was wrong. Yes, someone broke in, I explained. They called me pretending to be my neighbor. I was staying at a friend's place. The officer nodded, taking notes. And where is your neighbor now? I don't know. Her flat is empty, but her phone's there. I'm worried something's happened to her. The officer looked up from his notepad. What time did you last speak to her? Before I could answer, my phone pinged. A notification from Watchlist TV. Prediction updated. I opened the app, hands shaking. The feed now showed my living room from the same angle as before. Me standing near the door, the police officer a few feet away. The timestamp read, now. But as I watched, the officer's face began to change, his features shifting and blurring. On the screen, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a knife. I looked up from my phone in horror. The officer was smiling now, but it wasn't a reassuring smile. And his hand was indeed moving toward his jacket. That's not a police uniform, is it? I said, backing away until I felt the wall behind me. Close enough to fool most people, he replied, producing a knife exactly as shown in the prediction. Especially in the dark, especially when they're expecting to see police. On my phone screen, I could see myself against the wall, the man approaching with the knife. The prediction had come true, exactly as shown. Why me? I managed to ask, trying to edge toward the door. Nothing personal, he said. You're just on the watch list. What watch list? He gestured toward my phone. The one you've been obsessively checking all day. The one that brought you back here at exactly the right time, despite your best efforts to avoid it. Understanding dawned, horrible and complete. The app hadn't been predicting the future, it had been orchestrating it. Who are you? I asked, still inching toward the door. Just a subscriber, he said. Sometimes I watch, sometimes I participate. Tonight, I'm participating. As he edged forward, my phone pinged one final time. A new notification from Watchlist TV. Your free trial has ended. Subscribe now to see how this ends. I don't know if you believe in fate, in predestination, in the idea that some events are fixed points in time that cannot be altered. I didn't, not before that night. Now, I'm not so certain. What I do know is this. Sometimes the act of observing changes what's observed. Sometimes predictions become self-fulfilling prophecies, not because they were inevitable, but because knowing them makes them inevitable. I survived that night. I won't go into details about how, but I did. The man who attacked me wasn't as prepared as he thought. But that's not the point of this story. The point is that the Watchlist TV app disappeared from my phone immediately afterward. All traces of it vanished as if it had never existed. When I tried to explain it to the actual police who eventually arrived, they looked at me with that particular mixture of sympathy and suspicion reserved for trauma victims who aren't making sense. For weeks afterward, I checked my phone obsessively at 3:17 a.m., half expecting, half dreading another notification. It never came. But sometimes, when I'm in public spaces, a cafe, a train station, a busy street, I find myself looking for others like me. People who glance anxiously at their phones, who scan rooms as if searching for hidden cameras, who flinch when they receive notifications. I think I've spotted a few. There's a certain look in their eyes, a haunted awareness that they're being watched. And sometimes, not often, but sometimes, I catch someone watching me with an expression I can only describe as anticipatory, as if they're waiting for a show to begin, as if they know something I don't, as if they've seen what happens next. And in those moments, I wonder, am I still on someone's watch list? Are my most private moments still being streamed to unknown observers? Is someone out there waiting for their notification, their chance to participate in my story? I've changed my locks, changed my phone, changed my habits and routines. But late at night, in the quiet hours when sleep evades me, I can't shake the feeling that somewhere, someone is watching a feed of me lying awake in bed. And the timestamp? It reads, now.